So you want to start a clothing brand, but you only have an iPad and Procreate. Let me show you guys how to design a mini capsule to get you guys started. We'll go over line work for logos, making a full T design within Procreate, some knitwear concepts that I see blowing up in 2024, a double-waisted sweatpant. Now for the logo process, I did record it on my iPad, but for some reason it just didn't save, which was super annoying. But the breakdown for the logo is really easy, and I'll walk you guys through the steps. Start with the base outline of letters and make a sort of grid to assist in the placement. From there, I want you to go ahead and then add in a new layer. Now, this is the layer you're going to go ahead and make your final design / drawing in. Adding in a new layer, I want you to go in with the brush called Mercury. It should be in the lining section within Procreate. And then I want you to make the stabilization between 50 and 60%. This is going to allow you to get some clean-ish lines, but also allow you the freedom to make curves and adjustments within your graphic. Once you're happy with your graphic, just go ahead and fill that in. Now, just to show you guys a quick demonstration of this process again, I'm going to do it with a more playful, roundish sort of graphic. And once I've established my sketch to give me a base understanding of what I'm doing, you can see here, I finalized my line work, and then I simply just fill it in. Once your logo is established, making the rest of the designs is fairly simple. Essentially, if you're making stuff like knitwear and sweats, where the branding can be very minimal and you can focus on the actual piece. Real quick, if you want early access to the technical I'm using in Procreate, go ahead and subscribe to the Designedbywil Patreon, where you can learn with more extensive videos and grab early access and exclusive assets for your design tools. But for the t-shirt, we're going to be doing a lot, so make sure you follow along and don't skip any steps, because I found that Procreate is one of those design tools that looks simple, but it's hard to fully wrap around once you try to make different effects in. To get yourself established, start with an artboard that's 3000 by 3500 pixels. This should be the base for any sort of shirt print. Once that's established, I want you to activate the symmetry tool. To activate the symmetry tool, go ahead and go to that little tool icon or spanner icon and head to the canvas. From there, you can go ahead and turn on the drawing guide and then navigate yourself to the symmetry tool. And once you go to your layer panel, you should see a little word saying assisted on your actual layer. That's how you know it's been working, and you can go ahead and start drawing. The brush I'll use for this graphic is called the Studio Pen, and I keep the brush stabilization in between 20 and 30%. Now, you can make it a little bit higher if you want your lines to be cleaner, but essentially it's super easy drawing a face with the symmetry tool on. You need 2 eyes, a mouth, and maybe hair and a face shape. Separate yourself with the eyes and maybe your hair, or maybe something with the teeth. Essentially, you want to put your own creative twist towards this graphic. For the teeth, personally, in my graphic, I wanted the guy to have grills as a sort of look, and the hair to be spiky because it follows within the trend of streetwear currently. Once you're happy with your line work, I want you to go ahead and make a duplicate. Now, you can make this duplicate in case something goes wrong. I don't always do this in Procreate. You never know when you're going to make a mistake. From here, you can start coloring. Now, everyone knows how to color in Procreate. You basically drag and drop whatever color you have selected. And once you're happy with that, let's move on to the next step. In between the 2 layers of the line work that you made a copy of and the color layer, I want you to go ahead and add in a layer for some shading. Now, regarding the shading, all you have to do is grab an airbrush, the very soft one, which should be the one at the very top, and go in with a darker color. So if your skin tone is brown, go in with a darker brown. If your teeth are white, go in with a shade of gray. And I basically want you to highlight all the sections that should have shadows on there. This is just going to give your graphic a little bit more depth for once we start adding in a bunch of effects, because we're going to blur it out anyway, and we want the airbrush sort of look. And with airbrush, you tend to have shadows. Once you're happy, I want you to go ahead and duplicate the layer. Once you've merged everything together, merge all 3 of those together and then duplicate that one on top. From here, I want you to go into the effects panel and add in a Gaussian blur. Once you've added in your Gaussian blur, I usually set this to around 10 to 20%. Anything more than that, then it just becomes a blob. And on that layer, I want you to set the actual opacity to 60%. Once again, I want you to add another layer in between the blurred layer of all your graphic put together and your final graphic put together with no effect. In this layer, I want you to turn on the symmetry tool once again, and I want you to go in with that soft brush, but then outline all the line work that we did prior to this to give it a more softer look. Taking more time during these steps will essentially make your design look a lot better. Take what I'm doing with a grain of salt and make it more enthusiastic, put more effort into it, because this is going to make your graphic look way better. Add any finishing touches and make sure you merge everything together. Myself personally, I went ahead and added this eye to add in a pop of color because it is becoming summertime. Now for the grills, I wanted to add in a bit of shine, so I just set the color to white with the very soft brush, and then I just made a little bit of a star. Once that's complete, I want you to merge everything together from start to finish. And next, I want you to go ahead and insert a file, which is going to be your texture. So to insert textures into your Procreate, I want you to go ahead and go to that little icon, again, that spanner or tool icon. And then I want you to press add, and then I want you to press insert file. And wherever your downloads go, they usually go into downloads folder. You can go ahead and insert your texture. I want you to go ahead and set this layer to add and make it a clipping mask, because once you make it a clipping mask and merge it, so once you make it a clipping mask, it stops it from reverting back to a normal layer and keeping the sort of add effect to the blend mode. Now, essentially your design is complete. I want you to just repeat those steps that we did for the blurring for the back graphic. So essentially make a duplicate of your logo, blur it out, and then I want you to set that layer to 60%, add in your texture, clipping mask, make it add, and you're done, and merge everything. Now this is where you go ahead and introduce your mockup or your technical, whatever you want to call it. If you want to go ahead and grab them, make sure to check out the Designedbywil Patreon and join the family. You can go ahead and copy them from the actual other artboard and paste them into the new artboard with your graphic. From here, I want you to make a duplicate once again, once you've added that t-shirt layer in, because you're going to be coloring the layer underneath. Just set this color to white or whatever color you want really, and then make the design, once it's merged, a clipping mask, and then clip it onto the layer with the color on there. Next, you can just size your graphic and bam, you have a mock-up nice and complete. Now I want you to repeat this for the back, and now your t-shirt is complete. Let's go ahead and start on the knitwear. I want you to go ahead and go into that sketchbook with all the mock-ups, and I want you to copy over the knitwear into a new artboard, same sizing, 3000 by 3500 pixels. From here, once you've copied over the front, I want you to add in a new layer. Then I want you to go in with the plimsoll brush. It should be in the artistic sections. Some solid color bases, whether you want to make it monochrome or monotone, or you want to make it a bit more colorful for summer. For me personally, I went with just a green tone because I really like the look of green. And then I went ahead and made this sort of Grinch sort of knitwear. Your goal is to build a sort of gradient, but you can go ahead and make this as crazy as you want. But once you're happy with this, we can go ahead and start bringing this mock-up together. I want you to make it a duplicate of the layer that we copied over, which is going to be the front of the mock-up. And I want you to fill that layer in with black first. Once that's fully filled in with black, I want you to then go ahead and use a white to fill that black layer in. Now this is all going to make sense because we're going to go ahead and clip that gradient that we made onto that white color layer that we've now made. Once you've made the clipping mask, you can see the design really come together. For any final touches, I want you to go ahead and grab another brush and then make little knitwear strings coming off. It just makes the effect of the mockup look a little bit better for social media. Add any branding that you have, whether that's logos, icons, etc. I'm just going to go ahead and add in the logo that we made, and you're done. All you have to do is repeat the steps for the back, and you have a knitwear complete. Now you can go ahead and make multiple colorways if you really wanted to, but for me personally, I liked how it was, and I really like this design. To close off the capsule, we're going to go ahead and make the double layer sweats. Now the mockup for the double layer sweats is already complete. All you really have to do is make adjustments so it fits your brand aesthetic. I started by activating the symmetry tool because you want to repeat whatever you're doing on one side to the other side. And then I removed the pockets. From here, I removed certain parts of the stripes so I can go ahead and add in my activewear stripes. You know how the stripe paneling is going crazy right now on social media. So I really like that look. I then removed the rest of the lines on the waistband to insinuate that it's meant to be a sort of boxer brief material, and added in a little box that would have our branding in there. Lastly, I went ahead and just duplicated that layer that we had created of our final design, and then I colored in the one that was underneath. I then repeated this for any sort of things I wanted to add, like the drawstrings, and then I added in our logo, and finally some little dots that would insinuate the use of rhinestones. Now this was a super quick whip in Procreate, and I use it mainly for sketching when it comes to projects. This is just to show you guys, don't limit yourself if you don't have access to the larger programs, more expensive programs, Procreate is more than enough to get started. And I know some creatives and brand owners who use Procreate extensively. I really want to talk to them about their manufacturing process, because Procreate is pretty limited in finding out your color specifications. And also, I wouldn't imagine making a technical in Procreate would be really fun. Now, this is just to show you guys that you can make really cool things in Procreate. I'll see you guys when I see you. Peace.